Bryan, Intihar, creative director, Insomniac Games, working on Marvel's Spider-Man.
Yeah, cool. This is the first time you're letting us normal people play
people. You're just people. Yeah, it's the first time we're letting people actually play the game, so it's been a long road, and to finally put people with hands is exciting but nerve-wracking at the same time.
Yeah. What's the first thing you've seen people do? Like, we didn't think of that.
Nothing too crazy. I always cringe if they don't get swinging right away, but it seems like people after like maybe 2 or 3 pendulum swings they get it. But yeah, it's going pretty cool. It's going pretty well.
And that's a hard thing, right? Because like getting that feeling good.
It was the #1 thing we knew we had to do right away. Yeah. Outside of saying it was going to be an origin story, it was make sure swinging is really good and make sure those webs attached to buildings. That was a big thing for us.
And how did you go about that?
Well, I mean, obviously, we had a lot of experience with traversal with our Sunset Overdrive game that we made, and we just kind of said, okay, how do we take the experience that we had with Sunset and now apply it for a Spider-Man game? And you know, just like a Sunset was all about fluidity, flow, movement, and style, I wanted to bring it to a Spider-Man game.
Yeah. We haven't had a good Spider-Man in many years. What was the biggest difficulty like going into this, except for like web swinging and stuff?
I mean, I think there's a challenge. I mean, I think the challenge is he's such a beloved character, and that he means a lot to so many people, including us, that we just wanted to make sure we did it justice, but also make it feel like an Insomniac game. So it's finding that balance between what do people expect from the character, but also give them something fresh and new. And kind of the philosophy we always said was we want to respect the traditions of the franchise, but we also want to mix things up. So like, for example, it's not an origin story. He's a little bit older. He's a scientist. MJ works at the Daily Bugle as a journalist. And then just like, we never made a third-person melee game before, so getting that right. And then just, I think humor is really hard in video games to do, and this character is a lot about humor.
Yeah, it is.
And finding not only the right type of humor, but the right frequency of humor. So yeah, that kind of stuff. I think I used to have a lot more hair on my head when we started this project, and I don't have as much anymore. But it was worth it.
Yeah, I mean, humor is a big thing for Spider-Man, and a lot of like contextual humor.
Yeah. That's a really great great note, because for us it was one thing I picked up reading like some of my favorite comics, and especially the movies, is situational humor.
Yeah.
Like, when is it the right time? When's that right moment to say something? Because I think if he just quips like nonstop, it just becomes like white noise after a while. It's like, first of all, we can't write that many lines that'll be that funny. So it's like finding the right opportunity, the right moments to do it, and that's when it really works best.
Yeah, it's basically daddy jokes, right? Because it's quite on the nose. Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, I think for us it was trying to be a more sophisticated humor. It was about obviously playing up like we're watching on the screen right in front of us him fight Shocker, and he verbally jabs at Shocker a lot, but it all plays into that moment, right? Even like when he's getting his butt kicked, he's talking to Shocker. So I just think it's finding those right opportunities, or even when he's hanging out with MJ, he cracks a joke here and there. So it's just finding the right place, right time. Because when it lands great. If it doesn't, it's like a thud.
A lot of what we saw in the E3 demo was like battling a lot of like supervillains.
Yep.
Will we see like normal day Spider-Man, Peter Parker?
Yeah, there'll be moments in the main game, where you play as Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's like beating up thugs in the alleys.
Not as Peter Parker, but he'll be at work. He'll be working. You'll go visit Aunt May at the Feast Shelter. You'll spend time with MJ. So. It was really important for us that I think my feeling is you can't have a great Spider-Man experience if you don't develop and show the Peter Parker. So to me, it's as much as it was about delivering the superhero fantasy, it was also about delivering a really emotional, great human story as well.
Yeah. How do you think while choosing the supervillains for the story? Because I often feel like in the movies I'm a big Dr. Octopus fan. I haven't seen him in the game yet,
But
how did you go about choosing the villains for the game?
I think you look at it two ways. One, from a narrative standpoint, where what's his relation to either Spider-Man or Peter Parker. Hopefully, the best ones have both.
Yeah.
It means one of the reasons why we chose Mr. Negative. Martin Lee owns the Feast shelters. Aunt May works at Feast. He knows Peter. When Peter realizes that Martin Lee is Mr. Negative, oh my God, my aunt works for a supervillain. It's perfect. Worlds colliding. And then just that's a great narrative device, right? So we look for those opportunities. But at the same time, from a gameplay standpoint, you want different characters like a Shocker or a Rhino or Vulture. Each one kind of present a different challenge gameplay-wise to Spider-Man. So and then just kind of how it's really, we try to make narrative and design fit as much as possible. So like, people are like, well, how'd you come up with that Sinister Six? That's not the traditional Sinister Six. I'm like, yeah, I know, because we want to do our own thing.
Yeah. Was that hard getting through to Marvel, like getting your...
Not at all.
No.
They were there embracing it. I know people are very like, oh, is it the Marvel brand? Is the Marvel brand this? It was never really about that. It was like, what makes for a great story? What makes for a great game? And then, obviously, we've always talked about honoring the traditions of the franchise and respect to the DNA, but also mix things up. For us, I look a lot at, I don't know if you read the Ultimate Comics Spider-Man comics by Bryan Michael Bendis. He did a really great job in the early 2000s of kind of blending that line between that's Spider-Man I know, but there's things happening along the way that feel different.
Yeah.
And that's how we wanted to do with our universe.
Yeah, I really like Bennett's stories as well.
He's great. He's a great writer. Yep.
And for me, as you said before, Spider-Man has always been that, like, being Spider-Man has consequences for his private life. But talking about a bit about combat, we saw in the E3 demo, it felt sometimes it's more like a quick-timey event.
In last year's E3 demo or this year's?
This one when you like chase after Shocker.
You mean Electro?
Yeah, Electro, yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I didn't see any QTs in there. That's all normal gameplay.
It is, okay.
Yeah, the only thing is there's that one part where you can strike at, but there's no, there's no quick times in that.
Okay.
In literally that whole demo, there's not one quick time event.
I see, excellent.
Yep.
Cool. So, yeah, I think that's it.
Cool.
Yeah, great.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Yeah, likewise.